Jaylen Clark, Cameron Brink. A lot of star power in the house.
Jaylen, she's about 2 weeks away from a triple-double happening every single night. Fever going to figure it out. Haven't got to win. Change the time of the June 1st game to a noon tip-off, so get on ESPN, which is good news. Season ticket holders are privy to that type of information like us. We've invested in the Fever. We hope Shams will do the exact. Maybe Sean Charania covers the W.
There you go.
Yes.
Ooh,
Sean.
I think we might have figured out an alias.
All right, let's move along.
Let's
talk about. Well, you already have NBA Central or whatever. Okay, so let's talk about what happened last night. Tyrese Haliburton, third quarter, okay? This is not good news for the NBA. It's not good news for the series, and it's certainly terrible news for Indianapolis whenever we see him exit the game, and then Coach Carlisle afterwards says it's a hamstring soreness. What do we know about this as we look ahead, and what are your thoughts on it all?
I'm told this morning that he re-aggravated that hamstring strain injury that he had earlier in the season in January. He missed 10 games with it. He actually came back a lot earlier than expected. Tyrese Haliburton rehabbed the injury quicker than everyone thought he would, and he came back after just missing 10 games and went 6-4 in those games. But we all know, he's their engine. They rely on him offensively to set the table for everyone, and they're obviously a lot of concern today there in Indy. I'm told the Pacers got in at 3:15 in the morning last night, so it was a early morning, I'm sure, for a lot of those players, and they don't practice today. We'll know later today as Tyrese Haliburton gets more tests, as he gets more treatment, as he goes through that hamstring injury, as far as how the Pacers are going to list him going into Game 3. But there's obvious, his status is up in the air. It's the same hamstring. That's not an injury that you want to play around with. And he even had x-rays, I'm told, on his chest, not his hamstring, on his chest at halftime of that game. And obviously he got cleared enough from that. He felt good enough to try to give it a go in the second half, just could not get as much burst on that hamstring as he wanted, and he ended up sitting the game. And Rick Carlisle pulls his starters pretty early in that fourth quarter, and they try to get ready for Game 3. But that Game 1 demoralizing loss, that was a game you try to have. If you have, the whole tenor of the series is completely different. And now the Pacers are going to go back home, and you hope there's some miracle here with Tyrese Haliburton's hamstring.
Miracle. Okay, I don't like the word miracle with his entire injury.
Well, with hamstrings, calves, these things are so tricky.
As McGee did point out, we are in the former house of the Lord.
That's right.
And Indiana is certainly a place that's looking to the heavens and down on their knees in the morning. So maybe a miracle will happen with Tyrese Haliburton's hamstring, but you're right, those are fickle injuries, obviously. That once
even if he plays, like how close to 100% is he going to be? How close to Tyrese Haliburton is he going to be? We know how it affected him during the season. After he missed that time, he went through ups and downs offensively, and then he finally picked it up. We saw what he's done in this series. Game 1, just a masterclass on both ends until the last minute of the game. Like Tyrese Haliburton said, that game, 47 minutes, they played beautifully, and then that last minute. But for the Pacers, a hamstring issue. He's got the chest issue. Obviously, Tyrese Haliburton very banged up on this.
On the other side, Connor's got a question.
Yeah, Shams, it's a good time to be in Indiana right now as a Celtics fan, and we didn't get the.
Oh, shut up! Well, this is the same place the Knicks were. Hope you understand that. Let's not have too crazy of nostalgia here or forgetfulness.
Yeah, same place the Knicks were, and it seems as though the Knicks' deterioration has kind of passed on to the Pacers. But again, that's a conversation for another day, Shams.
I won't make those excuses, but I will yell at a ref.
You don't want to use it. You don't want to use it once. You can use it once.
If we lose Tyrese Haliburton, it's a whole different series.
Yeah, bingo.
Okay, we're a whole different team.
Man,
it is. Yep, Shams.
Go ahead, please.
Shams.
Boston Connor's not buying that.
Okay, thanks.
To be completely honest,
just get the information on what the hell's wrong with them, please. Okay, we don't need you talking about Lord miracles and everything. Okay, we just need to find out the truth. They have to report by 5 today, right?
They do. They have a 5 p.m. injury report. Yes, everyone will see it publicly.
Go ahead.
Yeah, all eyes are on the broom closets as well. They have been unlocked in Boston. The brooms are not out just yet, though. But looking at the Celtics, Shams, they're saying Porzingis could be ready Game 4. It feels like there's a chance that if the Celtics win Game 3, there might not be that push to get him back. Is there a thought that Porzingis will just end up resting this entire series and then maybe definitely come back for the finals? And what are you hearing around his front on his injured soleus, I believe, in his calf?
Yeah, that's another injury where non-contact, you strain it. Giannis Antetokounmpo missed about 4 weeks, and he had a press conference 4 weeks after the injury and said, "I'm still not running anywhere close to where I need to be. I'm running 40%, I think is what he said. So the fact that it's a calf, like hamstrings, those are tricky injuries, and I think Porzingis is trying to do everything he can. He's doing more on the court. He's doing some stationary work on the bike. I do think the Celtics are optimistic. For the finals, assuredly he's going to be ready to go.
Yeah.
But for this series, I mean, a lot of it is day to day. A lot of it is week to week. I mean, Game 4, I believe, is early next week. You want to make sure he's 100%. And let's say they win Game 3. Let's say. I know there's going to be some upset people. But if they do win Game 3 and you're up 3-0, I think the question in Boston should be, where's that calf really at? But there's also a thought, if he is good and if he wants to play on a minutes restriction, you play him and then you get him right. And if he's got to play another game in the series, he plays on and continues to rev up and ramp up for the finals. That's obviously where they feel like and know they need him to win a championship.
Hey, just real quick, do you have in your Rolodex of information when the last time the Pacers lost at home?
The last time the Pacers lost at home?
Yeah.
Did the Bucks beat them in Indy?
No.
The Bucks never won in Indy. Okay.
Yeah.
Wow. So it has to be regular season, early April?
March 18th, pal. Okay? It's more like Painbridge Fieldhouse whenever you come in there, pal.
Yeah.
That's what it's like. So you're saying the Celtics win Game 3 and then maybe Porzingis gets some minutes at the end. Shut up.
Do you know the Celtics road record in the playoffs this year?
Huh.
Oh, it's 4-0. They haven't lost on the road yet.
They haven't been to Painbridge, Field of Pain.
Painbridge hasn't played without Tyrese since March 18th
Movable
either.
object versus unstoppable force.
Those fans in Indy, Pat, I got my start
Hamstrings.
covering games in Indianapolis with the Pacers and the Bucks. But the Pacers fans, that arena is very underrated, and those fans get rocking, especially when their team is in the playoffs.
Yeah, it's
so I've been to conference finals games there.
What do we even?
I've been in the second round there. They get it right.
Let's talk about the other
former Bankers Life Fieldhouse. That's what it used to be.
Yeah, it used to be Bankers Life.
Now Gainbridge.
It was tough not to call it Bankers Life for like the first 5 years it's been Gainbridge.
Sure.
That happens with every stadium, though. Down in Houston, they had a stadium change like every 3 years. And I'm still playing at NRG or something like that, but I think it's Reliant now.
Yeah, something like that.
Acrisure, Heinz Field for sure.
Oh, yeah. That's
Cincinnati Bengals Stadium is just the team that didn't want to make any money.
Yep. Paycor.
There it was. Congrats to them.
How about crypto
They're
versus
making money.
Staples? How about crypto versus Staples?
No one calls
Yeah.
that.
Well, crypto.
big
The
argument
Crypt,
in LA.
bro, is pretty sick. Crypt is pretty
Aren't
sick.
they bankrupt?
I don't know.
Yeah, they lost
So you're
all
allowed
their
people calling
money
it
getting
Staples
those
Center.
rights.
No, they sponsored some the other night on one of these NBA games. It was like the crypto.com dunk of the game. And I'm
Yep.
like, I didn't know. Like, this might as well be like Radio Shack's
Yeah.
dunk of the game. Right?
Bingo.
Best
I thought
Buy.
we were done with it, personally.
I had no idea. But they probably paid up front so much. Because remember how much money they did have.
Yeah, they had to pay up
That
front.
Tom Brady, they had the whole kit and caboodle.
Shaq
did.
We want
frog in the
Staples
pants
Center
situation.
straight up. Here's $275 million. We want the dunk of the game for the next 5 years. Here's
Paid in crypto.
Anyways,
Bowl games. My
Yes.
dad has a closet. My dad worked 20-something bowl games. My dad has a closet full of bowl games, companies that don't exist anymore.
Duke's Mayo Bowl used to be
Hey,
great.
Plymouth Holiday Bowl.
The
They don't
Belk
make- They don't
Bowl.
make Plymouths anymore. Hey, Belk Bowl. Oh, yeah.
Hell yeah.
The Belk Bowl in Charlotte, where I live, was the Meineke Car Care Bowl.
Yep.
Yes, I'm a champion of
And,
Monte Carlo.
George Foreman would show up every year. And, and it was the Belk Bowl and the .com. When the .com thing happened in the 90s, that's when it went out of control.
GoDaddy.com bowl?
Yeah, the GoDaddy.com bowl. The Danica Patrick GoDaddy.com. So we got Dale Jr.'s helmet here. Dale
Yeah,
Jr.
damn right we do. Shout out Zito buying that.
Dale Jr. never been to a college football game. And he drove his race car onto the field for the TaxSlayer.com Gator Bowl.
Hell yeah. Hell yeah.
Amen.
Yeah.
I'm also a Gator Bowl champion, Meineke Car Care Bowl champion, Gator Bowl champion.
You know it.
A lot of things change, but things need to remain the same.
They do.
Or everything will go away.
Bring back the
There you
Myrtle
go.
Beach Bowl.
Hey,
Hey, never leave your for show money looking for more money because you might end up with
no
money.
Nice.
Let's get to the Western Conference now here. Shams, obviously tonight, Game 2, Dallas, Minnesota. Dallas gets the win in the first one. They are up 1-0. Luka dominated late. Kyrie dominated early. I heard that from Wendy that was a Jayson Kidd decision to basically rest up Luka early so that if his knee is bad, at least we'll have good 2 quarters in the second half with him. What are you planning on this evening? What do we need to know about injuries and how should we be viewing this one, especially for maybe gambling on the 5.5-point favorites, the Minnesota Timberwolves?
Yeah, I mean, you would expect Anthony Edwards to have a much more efficient game. I mean, the last couple games, you think about Game 7 Game 1 of this series, he 12 of 40, I believe it is, from the field. So you would expect him to figure it out in Game 2 here. He's the one who gave the challenge to Kyrie Irving. Kyrie Irving stepped up to the task. And honestly, Pat, like I just remember coming on this show in 2020, 2021, 2022. We were talking a lot about Kyrie Irving. We were talking about mandates. We were talking about drama. We were talking about trade requests. We were talking
City
about
Council.
him being traded. Him going to the Lakers. We were talking about Eric Adams, the mayor of New York City, like deciding that somehow that they need to have a mandate to where a guy can like do everything but can't play in games, and then he ends up coming to the arena. Yeah. But he's on the court, he's there, but he can't play in the games. It was a crazy time. But now you see Kyrie Irving, like how happy it is, how happy he is, and that's the number one thing that I look at with him. The way that him and Luka Doncic embrace after every game, the way that now that we're not talking about mandates, we're not talking about his happiness in a city. We're talking about how much he loves the game, how much he loves his teammates, how he's a leader. There were 2 moments, Pat, I can shed light on that I think changed everything between Kyrie Irving and Luka Doncic. One was training camp, them all going to Abu Dhabi, spending time with each other. Another moment was Kyrie Irving actually had a spades tournament at his house in late November. The Mavericks were in town for the Lakers-Clippers game. They were there for about a week or so in L.A., and Kyrie Irving invites the entire team, everyone's family members, to his house in L.A., and they're playing spades against each other, and I think bonding with each other, spending time with Luka's family. Kyrie Irving's family was there as well. And those are the moments where we didn't hear about that a lot in Brooklyn. We didn't hear about that a lot in Cleveland. And now that Kyrie Irving, he's one of the veteran leaders. It's crazy. He's like, you think about the playoff players that are remaining right now. Haliburton, obviously, young star. Jayson Tatum, still trying to get his first ring. Minnesota, obviously, Anthony Edwards is developing as a face of the league.
No respect.
Luka Doncic is one of the faces of the league. Kyrie Irving has been a champion. He's been an all-star, all-NBA player. He's like the veteran, the seasoned guy that's playing right now in these finals. He's the OG. He's the vet.
Yeah, Jaylen Brown, obviously a name you refuse to say for whatever reason.
Jaylen Brown as well. Shout out Jaylen Brown, 40 points last night.
Yeah, but doesn't make it into that stuff.
Doesn't get mentioned.
Doesn't make it into Sham's breakdown.
He signed the largest contract in NBA history, and he wanted to only get better, and he's doing that. He definitely believes he's one of the best 15 players in the league, and last night he showed it.
Well, the thing I think I enjoy most about this Celtics team, Jaylen Brown, Jayson Tatum thing is, and I think the conversation was even happening on First Take today and probably Get Up and every other sports thing. It's like, is Tatum doing enough to help this team? And Jaylen Brown, is he the real star of this team? Now, he's got the max contract.
Yeah.
So everybody on the team is like, yeah, this guy is one of our stars. Those two pick up for each other whenever they need it. It feels like a great tag team. They're both saying my team, though, which is interesting, because you could use the word our. Pronoun could be our whenever they're utilizing and talking about motivating the locker room and everything. But they both say my team, which I respect and appreciate, that they're both like in the roles. And then you got Al Horford, who's 95 years old.
Yep.
He's probably a leader in there as well. And Joe Mazzulla, he's making adjustments. He's obviously can tap out and break the arm of everybody on the team because of his jiu-jitsu training that he does after games late night in his house. So it's like that team feels like they got a lot of dogs on it. And when Tatum plays bad, Brown is picked up for it. And I assume there's going to come a time when Tatum is going to go absolutely ape shit, and Brown is probably not going to be as well. And the conversation is going to flip on his head. Is this how it's always been for the Celtics? I'm just realizing this because they're obviously taking on the Pacers in the Eastern Conference Final. Has this been the story of the Celtics with these two since they got there?
Yeah, I mean, we've gone this is the 6th Eastern Conference Final that they've been to. Like they have gone deep in the playoffs. And, when Kyrie came to Boston, one of the problems was when he got hurt, they still went to the Eastern Conference Finals, and that's kind of when it became Tatum and Brown's team. And Kyrie, obviously, everything happened with him, and then he left. And you mentioned the adjustments from Mazzulla. They dominated the offensive rebounds because they were crashing on the baseline. We kept seeing that with Jaylen Brown either mixing it up or, Derek White. But, yeah, Tatum, I expect a massive road game. There were a couple years ago when they were down 3-2 against the Bucks. Tatum went for like 45 on the road, win Game 7, win Eastern Conference Finals again.
Those two get along, though?
Oh, yeah, very well. Tatum's been there since he was 18, 19. Jaylen's been there since he was 20. Jaylen was drafted in 17 or 16. Tatum was the year after. They've legitimately grown up together in Boston.
Well, congrats, boys. Looks like you got one.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Pace is going to be tough in the Painbridge Fieldhouse. You just need to know that's the case. Let's talk about the playoffs and a face that we're used to seeing. And obviously, every time you come on, we have to bring this name up because you are plugged in.
Yep.
This guy is completely plugged into the whole situation. The Lakers are not in the playoffs, and if you listen to a lot of people that talk about the NBA on a regular basis, they say with the way this Western Conference is set up, it don't matter who's coaching that team.
No.
That team is done for. They are irrelevant. They're not going to make it back. Where are we with the Lakers right now in the coaching search? Where are we in what the future looks like for LeBron, who's potentially going to be a free agent? Is that possible? What is the situation currently standing for the Los Angeles Lakers? And we ask not only because Lakers have needle-moving ability, but because this guy, seemingly, he's right in the middle of the war room.
Yeah.
Yep.
Shams is in there. Shams, what the hell's going on over there in LA right now?
Yeah, so let's start with their roster. The organization definitely believes that they have a roster that should have been able to compete much more in these playoffs than they did. And you think about where they ended up in the playoff rankings. They were the 7th seed. They feel like there was a month or so, a couple weeks of the season where it just did not go the way that they wanted. It obviously affected them in the standings. And LeBron James and this organization, they don't want to be in a position next season where they're playing in the play-in tournament, where they're fighting for the 7 or 8 seed. So that's a big point of emphasis, is putting an emphasis on the regular season next year, where you're putting yourself, like if the Lakers ended up on the other side of the bracket where it's OKC and Dallas and that whole series where you're playing New Orleans or whatever, like that, you feel like maybe you have a much better chance to advance. You play Denver in round 1, like you're running into a buzzsaw. So I think now the Lakers, where they're standing is they've started their coaching interviews. I'm told last week the Lakers met with J.J. Redick in Chicago at the draft combine. They met for an extended period of time to really get to know him and spend time with him. And he was the first candidate to really do a face-to-face meeting. And then they brought in James Borrego in L.A. on Monday, Sam Cassell, David Adelman, Micah Nori, Chris Quinn is going to get an interview as well in L.A. So they're finishing up their first round of interviews this week. Next week, I believe they're going to start their second phase in this process, get more conversations with candidates, get more maybe basketball-centric conversations in. I think a lot of it now was surface level. But going into this process, and right now, my sense is that J.J. Redick, he is the guy around the league that everyone believes is the front runner for this job. He's in position. I think there's an infatuation with J.J. Redick right now, just in terms of his ability for right now, but also being a coach that the Lakers can have for years and years to come. That's someone who's obviously young enough in the industry, young enough in the space where you feel like you have a 4, 5, maybe 6-year runway with a guy like J.J. Redick as your head coach, where now you have him command the respect of a LeBron James and Anthony Davis. But listen, this is Anthony Davis's team moving forward. He's the one who's 31 in the prime of his career. So how can, whether it's J.J. Redick or another coach, dictate how you're going to revolve your game plan around Anthony Davis? And I think that's going to be an important part. But I think their process is going to continue. LeBron James is going to continue to watch how that goes. He's going to continue to watch how they, even more importantly, how they manage their roster. And he has a player option date, June 29th. He has not made a decision yet. He could opt in. He could opt out. He could extend off an opt-in or sign a new free agent deal. And he's going to see what moves they make come summertime, from next month, as we get close to the draft. That's where a lot of the bigger trades happen. And he's going to keep a very, very close eye. But from what I understand, they're going to have more interviews right now. But listen,
J.J. Redick's
Yep.
coach. So you know what's
the way this process is going,
Yeah.
I think a lot of people around the league are connecting some dots in terms of the interview process that's going on right now. And listen, J.J. Redick does have a responsibility. He's calling games in the conference finals, the NBA finals, and so. And any, if he does take over, he wouldn't be taking over until after the finals anyway. So the Lakers are able to actually use that as an advantage to really go through all the interviews that they want to.
And then focus in on JJ, comparing him to whoever they were thinking about potentially going in. Coach JJ Redick feels like the perfect guy for LA too, right? Good personality, can talk well.
Yeah, played there for a while.
And if you want to know if he's a smart basketball guy or not, obviously you can go back to his career. But this mind-to-game thing is going to be viewed as a season-long interview process from LeBron for his next coach.
Yep.
That is exactly what it's going to be. So now, let's say LeBron opts out, but then gets a deal done with LA to go back there, or opts in to go back to be a Laker. If there comes a time where LeBron's not happy with JJ, we can go back to episode 3 and say, hey, this is what we all did.
Yeah.
Then we all said we're going to slip under a pick, we're going to slide to the baseline, then we're going to do the triangle quarter zip, and then we're going to come through here, and then there's going to be a whoop-de-woo, and then they're going to do the whole thing. How much do you want this to be muted, Chumps?
Yeah, geez Louise.
It's not my lingo. This is basketball shit I'm talking about here. But I saw that on Mind the Game, all of it, So if there's any disagreements, it's like we can just go back and see, is JJ wrong or is LeBron wrong?
Yeah.
It's
And then if the podcast starts doing bad, does LeBron say, like, hey, I'm going to have to let you go like I let Frank Vogel go, and I'm going to have to bring in someone new?
Well, Frank Vogel's not the only one.
No.
But if you don't
David
win with Bron, you are viewed vastly differently. And JJ Redick, I hope he has success. If he is the next...
I will say this. Whoever they hire is their hire. The Lakers have had...
Of course. Of course. All right, last question here, Sean, from Mr. McGee.
So, Sean, is there a scenario? I'm a dad, right? I got a daughter in college. Is there a scenario now that we know LeBron has an exit strategy, if he wants one, where... I mean, I'm looking at bets now. Bronny James, being a number 1 draft pick, certainly a top 10 draft. Is there? I'm just saying, people are taking bets on it. Is there a universe where LeBron is putting himself into a position to go play ball with his kid? I'm old enough to remember Ken Griffey Jr. and Sr.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
I mean, I think LeBron's waiting. I personally believe he's waiting to play in a league with his kid, whether it's for 1 game or whether it's for 100 games. But is there a multiverse scenario where LeBron could end up on a roster with his kid?
Yes, there's definitely a scenario where he ends up on the roster with LeBron. That LeBron James ends up on the roster with Bronny James. And for the simple fact is, the Lakers, they want to potentially draft Bronny James. They have the number 55 overall pick in the draft. They have the number 17th pick in the draft as well. And they obviously want to have LeBron James on the roster, and they want to see if they can fulfill his vision. He's been on the record about it. But I think for Bronny James, it is important, whether it's the Lakers or it's another team, to figure out a home where, from a development perspective, from a perspective of your future being solidified, because I don't think Bronny James wants to just play a couple years. From what I'm told, LeBron James is going to play up to 2 more NBA seasons. I don't think Bronny James' vision is to play 2 NBA seasons and then be done once his dad is done. I think the vision is having a long NBA career, having a runway, and whether that's in LA, whether that's elsewhere. I'm told he has over 10 NBA invites to work out
10?
right now. He had a pro day the other day on Wednesday in Los Angeles. He worked out at the Combine last week.
Shit.
I think there's obviously teams really looking at the way he shoots, the way he is right now. We know about the cardiac arrest last year, but he looks like he's in good shape. And I talked to some teams. He might have even bulked up just a little bit since the season ended. But he has over 10 NBA invites. I'm told one other team that Bronny James will be working out for is the Phoenix Suns before the NBA draft. So the Suns have the number 22 overall pick. He's among several players under consideration for that.
Come on down to Charlotte.
Charlotte?
I'm a Hornets guy, right? Come on down to Charlotte.
No, he said Phoenix.
Did you know LeBron James loves Charlotte? And the reason he loves Charlotte is because Bojangles, I'm not making this up, Bojangles chicken. I wrote a story about this in damn ESPN the magazine. When LeBron James was a rookie, the deal was he would leave games at the old Hive, and the takeaway food to go get on the plane after a game for the visiting team was a little 2-piece box of fried chicken from Bojangles. You know Bojangles?
Yeah.
Okay.